So what am I doing in our shed? Well, we're ploughing ahead really, but in a responsible way. So we've downloaded all the stuff we can from all kinds of agencies, and we've put together risk assessments, and we've got policies and procedures in place. We've been down there I think 3 or 4 times this past week getting the shed ready. We've got loads of posters and signs up about hand washing stations, about wearing masks. Lots of, I won't bore you with the detail, but we've got lots of mandatory things like you must hand wash. So when people arrive, we've built and put up a hand wash station outside. To enter the shed, they've got to take a chain aside to make sure they don't just walk in onto somebody. Come in, put the chain back. And there's signs like wearing masks. There's the hand sanitizer stations. We've got a thermometer, electric thermometer for taking their temperatures. They have to sign a form to say that they understand the risks and that they are not ill and are not being in contact with anybody that's ill. Outside, because our little cafe is too big to comply with any kind of social distancing, of note there is that we're saying it should be 2 meters. So our workstations are 2 meters or more apart, but they've relaxed it a bit to say 1 meter plus, which allows you to pass by people. But even so, we've got a one-way system in place so that people come in the front. If they forget something, they've got to walk all the way through and out the back and come in again. To look after all this, we've got responsible people nominated to make sure that people abide by what's going on. If they flout the rules and are asked to comply and either decline, won't, or refuse, they'll be asked to leave. We've emphasised to everybody how important this all is. So we've been given some sails of an old yacht, which we're rigging outside to make up for not being able to use our small cafe area, and we'll take our refreshments outside. And the other thing to say on that is we are not supplying any tea or coffee. If people want refreshments, they bring it and they have their own, and there's no sharing. And no hugging or kissing behind the hen shed.
Well, one thing we've added, whilst we've got people who are going in to carry on 1 or 2 projects for the shed itself, we have said for the time being, no work to be done on projects for outside people.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Can you just talk a little bit about the insurance as well? So what?
Yeah, we contacted our insurance here at Zurich a couple of weeks ago, and they're fine with us reopening. Their only comment is that we have to take reasonable precautions. And as we've done the risk assessment and health and safety checks and got all the signage and guidance and masks and gloves and gel, and we've taken the adequate precautions. I mean, I think one has to say that it would be quite difficult for somebody to point the finger and say, I got the disease from coming to the shed. They'd have to be living like a monk and not getting within a mile of anybody else, wouldn't they? But nonetheless, it is incumbent upon us to take every conceivable precaution, and I'm confident that we've done that.
The only thing that Zurich said to us was they're happy as long as we follow the government guidelines.
Yes.
So that is quite a broad statement, because as long as everything that you've said is following government guidelines, you are insured.
Well, insurance companies. Yeah, I mean, insurance companies are always like that, aren't they? They offer you comprehensive insurance, and then you need a microscope to look at the things that aren't covered by your comprehensive insurance. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
It's maybe worth saying as well, isn't it, Henry, that obviously in the preparation of this, you were looking at the Norfolk County Council guidance on community centres as well, weren't you? So in a sense, it's
you're right there, Johnny. Yeah.
Because as I say, as Henry said earlier, because no one was going to get up and say, and men's sheds can open on this and such a date, so we took the community centres as the blueprint, and thus obviously they put a certain raft of what they're expecting. I mean, I think in some ways community centres are far more ambiguous thing, you know. So they've got to cater for all sorts of eventualities. But we did look at those, and I mean, they were instrumental in the thinking as well, weren't they, Henry?
Yes, very much so. So, you know, the county council think that community centres can open up. The government are opening up. They've said they can open up. Village halls can open up. Cafes, pubs, even though that could have been a garden spacing with some of them. The trouble is, you know, if you don't put your foot in the water, when are you? I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. I really do think that we're going to be social distancing for a long time until the vaccination's found. And when it's found, Trump will buy it all up. So we will be social distancing, I think, for quite a long time.
What are you doing about members that are definitely in the category of more vulnerable than you?
Okay, we've asked them not to come. But everybody, it's their choice. We've said what we've done. We've pointed out the risks, said that we're open, and we'd love to see you if you feel able to come.
What about numbers as well, in terms of numbers of sheds or days opening and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, we're opening on our usual rota, and we've set up a couple of workstations outside, so that is weather dependent, but we've got 10 workstations inside, and each station is equipped with as many tools as we can muster, so they should be they shouldn't have to be wandering off looking for a tool.
An interesting point on tools that ours brought up. I think it's accepted that the virus dies after 3 days of not being touched, and basically all of our tools haven't been touched for a long time, more than 3 days. And we've talked about the sharing of tools. If somebody comes in and uses a saw, then a hand saw, then that should be their hand saw and not shared with anybody else throughout that session and cleaned afterwards. If you start passing tools between people, you're creating an opportunity for the virus to move.
We've got tissues, alcohol-based cleansing tissues. All the tools are going to be cleaned before the session.
Yeah.
No exchanging of tools without it being cleaned beforehand with an alcohol wipe. And all tools cleaned again at the end of the session in case anything has been overlooked.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a headache, and I can't see that I'll be doing much else except overseeing what's happening.
Doug.
Sorry, Kate.
No, go on, Alan.
Is anybody, the last chat we had, I identified that there was, we had been away from our tools for about three months. And I felt maybe that we should take the opportunity to do some refreshment training on some of the more hazardous tools, the power tools. Has anybody in the shed given that any thought?
I'm not sure. I'm kind of keeping clear of the detailed plans. I've kind of moved myself out because of age, etc., and my immune system is not so great at the minute. So I'm leaving that to other people. But I've heard it talked about at the minute that we should be doing that at some time. I can't imagine it'll be done before August. So we've got 2 major projects to get done on the shed, the front door and a back roof, which will probably spend virtually the whole of July getting done. Risk assessments are being done next week, etc. And I can't imagine anything happening before the end of July in the way of training. But yeah, it's kind of still on the list.
It's my
to
thought.
do. And I think we had a meeting here a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's generally accepted that, yeah, we do need to do that. Even those of us who've been through it already need a bit of a refresher.
I think the time to do it, of course, is as soon as you go back, isn't it? Because we're all getting on in years. We can always be very forgetful, and we've all got very aged people in our sheds who forget very more quickly. What you wouldn't want to see is somebody coming back that's forgotten what they've been taught or they've experienced, and take a finger off or something.
Possibly, sorry, go on. I was just saying maybe it heightens the importance of the workshop supervisor roles, perhaps.
Yeah,
then.
very much so. Yeah.
Or is there a way of adapting what you do on sort of lower level, just kind of get back into the flow of it, or perhaps whilst you get plans, I don't know, refreshers organised. I'm not sure if that's feasible, really.
I know it's very difficult.
It is difficult, but I'll certainly be talking to our responsible person. So if anybody wants to be using any of the powerful machinery rather than the hand tools, drills and the like, just to check that people are doing the right thing and putting down the guards, etc., and wearing a mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holding a very big stick in case it looks like something's going.
It could be done at a distance. It doesn't have to be done formally. You can be 2 meters away and you can be observing that person. You can also say to that person, I'm here. Should you have any doubts or forget what you should be doing, then please stop what you're doing and ask. So
it may be appropriate to allocate, say, just one person to use the mitre saw, for example, per session. If anybody wants something cut on the mitre saw, that one person will do it.
Yeah, I think it's something which every individual shed is going to have to address around their own individual circumstances, I think.
Can I just ask, because you mentioned, I know that your shed does generate quite a lot of income from providing services or doing repairs and making things for the community. It sounds like you've got 2 big projects that are the priority now anyway, but I guess for the sheds that are, I guess, dependent on survival for generating income, how do you see that shifting so that you can start providing services and making things, and because that might be, very important for sheds to get back up and running and feeling like they're surviving.
Yeah, difficult one. I'm not sure, to be honest.
We're taking, you'll be very surprised to know, we're carrying on as normal. We've already received requests to take on jobs, and we're just going to carry on. There's going to be no physical contact with the person. Stuff's going to be handed over at a distance. We'll clean it down before we work on it, clean it down before we give it back.
Yeah.
So, we're not being gung-ho about it. We're being thoughtful about it, but we need the income. And so we're kind of straight back in it, really.
Whilst we're here, because I'm next week on Shedfest doing a session on reconnecting with the community, what kind of things, are you starting to have kind of conversations with your local organisations and groups about the fact that are you doing a big launch of the fact that you're reopening, or are you kind of keeping it quite quiet and just building it up slowly? Or
yeah, personally speaking, we're not doing a big launch. We're opening for ourselves, but I've telling all the local councillors, all the local community workers around the area, that we're open for business, the local connectors, all those kinds of people. We've got a scheme locally, Good Neighbours, which we help out. We've told them. So it's just quietly, we're back for business.
Well, we've talked about it. We'd quite like to make a bit of a splash over it with some of the other groups around, the voluntary groups. No final decision has been made on it yet, but it's being discussed over the next few days.
So just to clarify, Henry, you're definitely opening this coming weekend in line with the community centre's reopening. But Doug and Alan, you're still in the process of just kind of getting plans together and really looking at all the rest.
We're holding off for certainly a few weeks.
Yeah, okay.
Now our shed has decided to go ahead like Henry's. I've got no say in that. I'm not actually part of the committee, but yeah, they've taken the same approach as Henry has said, is that the community centres are open, so should they. So they're starting on Saturday.
Yeah,
You're not going to go.
Agreed on that. You know, we have got members of the committee who want to start tomorrow, and are getting quite vocal about it. But I think the majority, and particularly our trustees, are saying, you know, hold off.
Okay. And you're not going to the pub afterwards to celebrate it.
I was just thinking in terms of like the Norfolk network overall. I think, Henry, we've got about, well, there's yourselves. We know Kings Lynn are preparing for it. We at Hunt Stances, we've got 3 or 4 sheds who we think are going to, you know, go for it. I mean, it's going to be a gradual toe in the water thing, I think.
Yes, I
the
think
other thing I think we were mindful of, and certainly at our steering group meeting on Tuesday, is obviously we've got a number of sheds where, you know, it's not going to be possible for, well, mainly 2 main reasons. One is that it's physically difficult because to socially distance within some of the sheds is you know, it's going to be only one person at a time can be indoors, whatever. And obviously also there is an understandable reticence in, you know, and that's not necessarily shared across the shed. You know, we did discuss, and one of our steering group members is, as it were, I think, trying to start the conversation as if, you know, for those sheds who don't feel ready to actually go yet. I mean, the most important thing, I think the biggest worry is that if 3 months out, quite a few shedders will have got quite used to not coming.
Yeah.
Just stepping out and going again, it takes them right back to possibly where they were at the beginning. And oh, shall I do this? I mean, Richard's getting together for the Wayland shed. He's having sort of just an informal coffee get together in his garden, subject to regulations, and just have people, you know, drop in and have a chat. Because I think the main thing really for those sheds who can't really, particularly if there's physical barriers to them opening because of space or layout, things like that. Or what's also happening is you've got maybe committees that you've got members that are anxious to get back, but committees that don't want to do it. And I think what I suppose we're trying to just encourage is for those sheds who can't open in the immediate future to at least be talking to one another, be exploring it. Hopefully, I mean, we'll push them towards some of the sessions at Shedfest next week, because that might just give a little bit more of a national perspective on, you know, people roughly all going through the same things. But,
well, interesting you said that, Johnny, because so there's an Unlocking the Shed session next week, and my feeling was that, you know, obviously there will be people talking about from different parts of the UK as well, talking about their own perspective, how they're interpreting the government guidance. But what I was thinking, and this is something I was going to speak to the ambassadors about, was maybe for the 3 weeks following that particular session, we maybe have on I don't know, 2 days of the week, we have an hour drop-in where sheds can just come and actually talk about, just very much like what you guys have kind of done here in Impromptu, just talk about what they're doing, and almost just a bit of a sense check, you know, people who haven't started thinking about it and those people who have already close to doing it, being able to share and collaborate a little bit. So yeah, and doing it via Zoom.
Good idea, Kate.
Okay.
I mean, one of the realities as well is that obviously not all our shedders are going to be able to come back to sheds, so there is the challenge of how do we support the sheds in engaging with their shedders when, you know, the whole world in which we understand has changed. And, you know, what can we do? What, you know, is there a role for technology in that? Is there, you know, how do people, you know, until such a time as people can safely gather under the same roof in the numbers they want to, and people feel comfortable and safe doing that, you know, how do we maintain the momentum within the network and within the movement?
So Johnny, there's actually a couple of shed, I guess, contacts that I've had conversations with recently where they're putting in bids to sort of ride this wave of, okay, we've established a bit of technology being intertwined with the shed movement. Can we build on that? And some things include, like, you know, shed members who can't come along maybe come into sort of sessions like this, so they have a Zoom account that's a shed Zoom account. But even things like getting broadband installed in the shed and having a screen, so that eventually there might be chances for them to connect with shedders who can't come along. Maybe training could be delivered electronically. Maybe it's even an opportunity for shed socials of watching matches or, you know, big things that are going on screen as well, so it can kind of be an additional activity. So there's some interesting stuff going on in terms of how we build on it, because I think that's been pretty remarkable how many shedders have just, you know, leaped into Zoom, and now it's yeah.
Well, I say all the people. I mean, I'm amazed that, you know, my 80-year-old mother has suddenly got very technologically.
Yeah. I think I heard there's the oldest shedder I heard was 91 that had managed to do a Zoom call, which is pretty good going.
Excellent.
Okay. That's good. Thank you for that.
Yes, it's not going to be one size fits all. That's the thing.
Mm.
And certainly at our shed, we've had guys saying, I can't come because my partner
Yeah.
is shielded. So, there's lots of that. But it's a suck it and see, and we're going to have to do the best we can and try and keep people on board, involved until they feel confident to come.